Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Easy English Spark, your online home for boosting your English listening and speaking skills every single day. In today's video, we'll draw inspiration from our 10-chapter story, From the Relentless Pursuit. Through the journey begins anew, and turn key moments into simple, powerful practice exercises. You'll sharpen your listening, strengthen your speaking, and build the confidence to use English naturally. Ready to spark your fluency? Let's get started and light up your English journey. Chapter 1. The Relentless Pursuit. I wake before the alarm buzzes, somewhere around 4:30, when the city outside is still a dim silhouette, and the only sound in the building is the faint hum of the heater. I push back the thin blanket, swing my legs to the floor, and feel the chill of the old hardwood on my bare feet. For a brief second, I let my eyes close again, letting myself imagine the warmth of a softer mattress, thicker sheets, the slow luxury of sleeping until sunrise. The soul. Picture fades as quickly as it comes. Wanting more comfort is a distraction, and distractions cost money. I shuffle into the kitchenette, click on the single fluorescent strip above the sink, and set water to boil. 1 scoop of discount coffee goes into a dented metal filter I bought at a yard sale. No sugar, no milk, because sweetness and cream are extras and extras add up. While the coffee drips, I do 20 push-ups on the cracked linoleum, partly for health, partly to keep my mind alert. By the time the mug is full, I am breathing steadily, ready for the first review of numbers. A folding table in the corner serves as my desk. The laptop is already open, the screensaver a plain black field. I tap the space bar and the glow paints the walls. A spreadsheet appears, rows and columns of figures organized by date, source, and amount. Yesterday, the data analysis job paid $87.15 after tax. Rideshare tips totaled $21 even. Fuel was $16.40. Net $91.75. I record the numbers, color each cell in quiet gray, and watch the grand total at the bottom inch higher. It sits now at 49,106, every dollar earned by trading time for security. By 5, I am out the door with my rideshare phone mounted on the windshield of my aging hatchback. The engine shudders when I turn the key, coughs once, then settles into a low, rough idle. I tell myself it has at least another 50,000 kilometers if I drive gently and stick to the maintenance schedule. I pull into the pre-dawn traffic, headlights breaking a path through mist. The first passengers are a couple catching an early flight. They talk about a beach resort, wonder aloud if the weather will be warm enough for swimming. I nod politely through the mirror and keep my eyes on the meter. 20 minutes, $32, a good start. After 3 airport runs and 2 grocery drop-offs, the sun climbs above the skyline. Pink clouds turn to bright blue, and with daylight comes the impulse to treat myself to a bakery pastry or a second coffee. I tighten my grip on the wheel and repeat the mantra. Spend nothing you do not need today, because tomorrow is always uncertain. Instead of stopping, I bite into the sandwich I packed at 4:45, 2 ends of yesterday's loaf with a single slice of budget cheddar. Dry, bland, functional. At 10, I park near the office tower where I spend my middays as a contract analyst. On the walk through the lobby, I pass a cafe that sells lattes topped with foam art. The smell is rich and inviting, but I focus on the elevator floor numbers ticking upward and picture the 49,000 growing. The cube farm is silent except for keyboards. My workstation holds 1 monitor, 1 bargain bin mouse, and a stack of sticky notes listing weekly targets. I dive into code audits, parsing thousands of lines to shave milliseconds from database queries. Each optimization earns a micro bonus that must be requested in a formal email. I file those emails like a ritual, adding sense to the future safety. Net lunch break arrives. Coworkers go out for ramen or order bowls delivered to the conference room. I return to the sandwich bag for half an apple, its flesh browned slightly at the edges. While I chew, I open the banking app again, watching the bar graph of savings climb in careful steps. The bar is my fortress wall against disaster. The higher it stands, the smaller every threat appears. Lost job, medical bill, economic crash. Yet the wall never feels high enough. My sister texts, asking if I want to join a family picnic on Saturday. I draft a warm apology and decline, blaming deadlines. She replies with a thumbs-up emoji followed by a heart. Guilt flickers, but resolve smothers it. At 2, I am back in the code until the day contract ends at 5:30. I sign out, descend the elevator, and head straight to the car. The second shift begins as commuters flood the streets. Brake lights glitter in long lines, but traffic means fares, and fares mean padding the account. I take riders to yoga classes, to soccer practice, to date night restaurants. One young man in the back seat phones a friend and laughs about spending half his paycheck on concert tickets. I catch myself judging him, so reckless, no plan for the unforeseen, and then scold the judgment. His life is his own. My life has a single directive: build the cushion. The hours roll by. Street lamps blink. On. My stomach growls around 8, but I pushed to 10, counting rides instead of calories. When the earnings tracker shows an even 100 for the evening, I allow myself to pull into a gas station. $10 of fuel, nothing from the snack aisle. Back home, the loft greets me with stillness. I kick off shoes beside the door and cross to the laptop for one last ledger entry. Today's net total, $169.16. 49,000 climbs to 49,175. I round down in my head, calling it 49 even. Better to expect less than risk disappointment. I click the lid shut and stare at the blank wall. The paint is peeling. Near the ceiling where damp meets plaster. I make a note to buy a small can of sealant. After next payday, maybe. A cold shower uses less electricity, so I take one quickly, counting seconds. Then I lower myself onto the thin mattress on its metal frame, pull the blanket to my chin and close my eyes. Still, sleep holds back. Behind my eyelids, numbers stream like ticker tape. Inflation projections, index fund returns, emergency fund targets, months until the 50,000 mark, years until the 200,000 that equals bulletproof security. Somewhere beyond. The mental math I sense the world continuing without me. Late movies, dinner parties, warm light spilling from tavern windows. But those scenes are vague, distant, unreal. What is real is the account balance. What is real is the plan. I breathe through my nose, slow and steady, and tell myself that another day of discipline has ended, another brick added to the wall. Tomorrow I will wake again at 4:30, brew the bitter coffee, and push the numbers further. Safety is not handed out. Safety is earned, one relentless day at a time. Chapter 2. Words of Caution. I am still half asleep when my phone buzzes at 6:30, an hour later than my usual alarm, but still early enough that dawn colors have only begun to seep across the sky. A message pops up from my sister, Mia. Meeting near your office today? Want to grab lunch? My treat. I glance at the timestamp, then at the list of tasks already crowding today's agenda. Lunch out means money if I'm tempted to pay, time if the restaurant is slow, calories I didn't budget. I type, busy day, not sure. We'll let you know. I add a quick smiling emoji so it doesn't look cold, and slip the phone in my pocket. Hallway warning. On my way to the rideshare car, I cross paths with Mrs. Kapoor, the retired biology teacher who lives 2 doors down. She is lugging grocery bags, and I stop out of reflex to hold the stairwell door. Ethan, dear, you look tired. Again, she says, peering over half-moon glasses. You should rest more. You're young only once. I force a small laugh. Thank you, ma'am. I'll sleep when my savings account is healthier. She clucks her tongue. Money's no good if you collapse before you can spend it. I think of my bank balance climbing one cautious decimal at a time. I thank her, promise to take a nap one of these weekends, and jog down the steps before she can lecture me further. Airport wisdom. My fourth passenger of the morning is an elderly man named Dr. Harris, white hair, leather briefcase, airport drop-off. He settles into the back seat and asks if I mind a bit of conversation. Not at all, sir. He tells me he's on his way to a medical symposium in Denver. He used to perform cardiac surgery 10 months a year. I missed my daughter's first recital and her graduation, he says, voice soft. I was always in the operating room, saving lives, yes, but losing small pieces of my own. The freeway hums beneath us. Do you regret it? I ask. Regret is tricky, he answers. But I learned late that a bank ledger does not hug you when you're old. He leans forward. Take it from someone who chased numbers. Remember to live while the clock is still generous. We reach departures. He pays, adds a generous tip, and presses a folded note into my hand. Do something pointless today, just for fun. I slide it into my cup holder, promising myself I'll read it later. A pointless act is, by definition, an expense without return. Corporate cafeteria. By 11:45, I'm at my desk job, fingers spearing through lines of code. The office smells like burnt coffee and recycled air. Owen, the junior analyst in the neighboring cubicle, pokes his head around the eye. Partition. Dude, taco truck Wednesday. You in? I shake my head. Brought lunch. I raise a plastic container that holds rice, spinach, a boiled egg, the cheapest protein I could find on sale. Owen grins. You and your monk food. Come on, first round's on me. I picture the taco, shredded beef, fresh cilantro, $2.50 each, plus tip, plus the risk I'll want a second. I'll pass, I say, and return to the screen. He shrugs. Suit yourself, but you're missing the best part of the day. After he leaves, the humming fluorescent lights seem louder. I spoon cold rice into my mouth and remind myself that fulfillment now is the enemy of abundance later. The Sister's Invitation. At 2 p.m, Mia calls. I let it ring twice so it doesn't look desperate, then answer. Still up for lunch? She asks, hopeful. Can't. Meeting. What about dinner? I made miso salmon and I promise not to let Mom interrogate you about grandchildren. Dinner means 40 minutes driving each way, fuel, maybe a bottle of wine as a courtesy, an unplanned cost. Rain check, I say. Quarter-end reports. She is quiet a beat, then sighs. Ethan, you skipped my birthday last month and Dad's barbecue before that. Human beings aren't line items. Guilt pricks, but habit shields me. Give, Dad, my love. I'm just focused. Focused, she repeats, as if tasting the word. Focused can be lonely. I tell her I'll visit soon, which satisfies neither of us. We hang up, a fragile mirror. That evening, the rideshare algorithm routes me through downtown during rush hour. I count 5 luxury SUVs in the adjacent lane, each one shinier than my hatchback will ever be. A billboard looms overhead. Dream, explore, live. An ad for a travel card. At a red light, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. The circles beneath my eyes have deepened, and a faint wrinkle cuts between my brows. I look older than 32. For an instant, Dr. Harris's words echo. The ledger does not hug you. The light turns green. I tap the accelerator, and the thought is buried beneath the next navigation ping. A cracked coffee mug. Last ride of the night. A bachelorette group singing off-key pop songs. They tumble out laughing, leaving confetti on the seat and a $6 tip. I pull into a 24-hour gas station to vacuum the confetti and refill the tank. Inside, the clerk's radio plays a love ballad I haven't heard since college. On impulse, I pour a cup of station coffee, $2 I hadn't budgeted. The first sip scalds my tongue, thin, bitter, nothing like the artisanal brews people Instagram. I almost throw it away, then stop. Wasting paid coffee would be a double loss. I finish it in 3 burning gulps and feel the acid churn in my stomach. This is why spontaneity costs, I tell myself on the drive home. A note on the floor. Back at the loft, I empty the pocket litter from the car and find the folded note Dr. Harris gave me. I open it. You won't remember today's income at 80. You will remember the afternoon you skipped stones, the concert you could barely afford, the laughter you shared when the power went out. Money stretches time, but it can't create it. I set the note on the counter, intending to tape it to the fridge. 10 minutes later, while logging expenses into my spreadsheet, I slide the paper under a stack of receipts so it doesn't distract. Me night arithmetic. When the ledger balances, today's profit is a solid $183. The line glows green on my screen. I should feel triumphant. Instead, Mrs. Kapoor's concern, Owen's teasing, Mia's disappointment, and Dr. Harris's gentle warning blur together in my mind like unwelcome pop-up ads. I shut the laptop, but the warnings follow me to bed. Young only once. Best part of the day. Focused can be lonely. Ledger does not hug you. I pull the blanket tighter and recite silent numbers, emergency fund goals, compound interest tables, until the words of caution fade. Tomorrow, I decide, will be another day of relentless pursuit. I will work harder, spend less, and one day, all these warnings will prove unnecessary because the fortress of my savings will keep every sorrow out. At least, that is what I tell myself as the city's sirens wail somewhere far below, and sleep finally, grudgingly arrives. Chapter 3. Echoes of Emptiness. I open my eyes at 4:28 a.m., 2 minutes before the alarm, as if my body now obeys a factory whistle no one else can hear. Outside, the skyline is merely a darker shade of night, but the familiar ache behind my temples is already pulsing, an ache that whispers, produce, accumulate, protect. The morning routine runs with mechanical precision. Kettle hisses, yard sale filter drips, 20 push-ups warm the blood, spreadsheet glows. Numbers march in neat columns, indifferent to how hollow the room feels. The grand total has crossed 51,000, yet the loft remains exactly as it was the day I signed the lease. Drywall unfinished in one corner, a single dangling bulb over the bed, a wobbly card table for a desk. I tell myself renovations can wait until after I'm safe, though I can no longer define what safe actually means. By dawn, I'm already shuttling commuters, but today the streets look washed out, as if someone desaturated the city overnight. An ad for luxury condos flashes across a digital billboard. Smiling couples toast champagne on sunlit balconies. My windshield catches the reflection of my own face, unshaven, eyes rimmed with fatigue, and the image dissolves before the light, turns green. During a lull between rides, I swing by a park to eat breakfast. Children tumble down a plastic slide, screeching with delight. Their parents sit on benches, coffee cups warming their hands. I chew a protein bar that tastes like chalk and watch a father lift his daughter high so she can touch a branch budding with new leaves. Her laughter rings like a bell across the grass. For a second, I feel the sound land inside me, bright and urgent, and then it fades, absorbed by a yawning emptiness I have grown accustomed to ignoring. Back at the office, the cubicle walls seem narrower. Someone has taped a flyer to the break room. Chersiers. Bowling league sign up. Make friends. Have fun. I glance at the list. Already 15 names in blue ink. Then walk on. Fun costs. Friends expect birthdays, bar tabs, wedding gifts. I microwave leftover rice, return to my chair, and let code swallow the hours. At 3:07 p.m. the power flickers. Monitors blink, pause, then surge back. In that half-second of darkness I catch my faint reflection. Shoulders hunched, skin sallow under fluorescent light. The image lingers in my mind long after the screens revive. I wonder what I'd look like if I spent even one afternoon in the sun. Evening driving brings heavier traffic than usual. A storm is coming. Clouds bruise the sky and distant thunder rolls like drums. My passengers chatter about movie nights and home-cooked stews. I nod mechanically, eyes fixed on the next turn. Rain begins to hammer the windshield. Wipers slap back and forth, and for a heartbeat I imagine pulling over, parking, beneath an overpass and simply listening to the storm with no destination, no timer running. The thought feels reckless, so I tighten my grip and keep earning. At 9:45 p.m. I stop for fuel. Neon lights buzz above the pump. A convenience store radio croons an old love song, one my mother used to hum while folding laundry. The melody floats across the parking lot, bittersweet. I realize I can't recall the last time I heard her voice in person. Every family visit postponed for next quarter. I stand there, nozzle in hand, feeling the weight of years traded for digits on a screen. Home again, I unlock the door to silence. The loft smells faintly of dust and cold coffee grounds. I flick the single bulb. It bathes the room in weak yellow. Beside the card table lies a package I ordered weeks ago. A bulk box of vitamin supplements. Energy in capsule form, because rest steals hours from productivity. I slice it open, stack the bottles, and catch sight of the folded note from Dr. Harris half buried under receipts. You won't remember today's income at 80. I move to cover it, then stop. Instead, I hold the scrap in my hands and read it 3 times. Each sentence thuds like a heartbeat in an echo chamber. For the first time in months, I power down the laptop without updating the ledger. The cursor blinks, expecting more numbers. I click Shut Down. As the screen goes black, the apartment feels vast and vacant. A warehouse for someone else's dreams. I sit on the edge of the mattress and let the emptiness stretch, listening to the refrigerator's intermittent hum. No laughter, no music, no human voice. Just the echoes of everything I have postponed. Friendships, celebrations, ordinary Tuesday dinners. I picture the park again, the father spinning his daughter, her arms flung wide like a bird testing new wings. The memory lands deeper now, reverberating through the quiet, an echo of the life outside these 4 thrift store walls. It sounds suspiciously like a warning. A gust rattles the window pane, jolting me back. I reach for the notebook where I track non-essential expenses to defer and flip to a blank page. My pen hovers, but instead of calculations, I write a single question. If I disappeared tonight, what would my money be worth? Ink pools at the period. I tap the page, once, twice, waiting for an answer that doesn't come. Only the echo remains, filling the room with a hollow that numbers cannot crowd out. I set the notebook down, switch off the bulb, and lie in darkness. Rain drums on the roof, steady and unhurried, whispering of time passing whether I acknowledge it or not. For the first night in years, I count raindrops instead of dollars, and the emptiness around me feels louder than any silence I have ever known. Chapter 4. The Turning Point. The schedule says I should finish my last fare by 10, fuel up, and be in bed by 11. Instead, the city gridlocks under bruised clouds, and every detour tacks another minute onto my night. Street lamps flicker in, the gathering storm, halos of pale orange shivering in the wind. A weather alert pings on the dashboard. Severe thunderstorm warning. Flash flood. Risk after 22 on. I mutter that it will pass. Extra danger means surge pricing, and surge pricing means I inch closer to whatever mythical figure I now call enough. At 9:57 p.m., a final request pops up. Pick up 6 miles out on Ridgeview Highway, a lonely 2-lane that snakes through the foothills before spilling into suburbia. The rider's profile photo shows a college kid with a guitar. The destination, a house party. 6 miles of dark asphalt for $28. I tap accept and tell the app I'm on my way. Rain begins as pinpricks on the windshield, casual, almost polite. Wipers swish. I keep the speedometer at a cautious 50 in a 60 zone, remembering the balding rear tires I promised myself to replace after bonus season. Lightning forks in the distance, illuminating low, ragged clouds. From the passenger seat, my phone trills. Mia again, probably checking whether I made it home. I silence the call. Returning it would mean talking, and talking means minutes, and minutes mean money. The highway curves right, climbing. Trees huddle close to the shoulder like spectators pressed against a parade route. The rain thickens. Wiper blades swipe faster. Thunk, 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 thunk. Yet the world outside turns to watercolor. Headlights catch the silver threads of water and fling them back at me in shimmering screens. I lean forward, nose almost touching the glass, searching for lane markers that blur and reappear like ghosts. My pulse ticks with the mile markers. I remind myself to breathe slow, to keep both hands at 10 and 2. Safety is discipline. 5 more minutes and I'll see the pullout where my passenger waits under the lone streetlight. 5 more minutes to profit. The thought steadies me until the road dips unexpectedly and the asphalt glistens like black ice. Hydroplane. The word registers a split second before the tires lose grip. The steering wheel feels weightless, like turning an unplugged controller. The car glides sideways, silent, elegant in its betrayal. Instinct snaps my arms left, right, left, searching for traction that isn't there. Headlights from the opposite lane burst through the curtain of rain. 2 hot white suns boring straight into my windshield. Everything compresses. Memory later will expand this second into infinity, each detail etched with surgical clarity. Droplets exploding on the glass. The hiss of rubber surfing water, the sour tang of adrenaline flooding my mouth, the metallic song of loose coins rattling in the cup holder. Then physics reclaims its dues. Impact. A metallic crack like sheet lightning inside a steel drum. My seatbelt slams my chest. The airbag punches my sternum with a chalky burst. The world flips 90 degrees, then 90 more. Glass pelts my cheek, cold needles on hot skin. Somewhere far away the engine screams, then dies. Silence follows, thick and absolute. No music, no GPS voice, no rain. Only my heart, a frantic drummer trapped in bone. I taste copper and realize it's blood from a split lip. My ears ring high and steady. The whistle of a tea kettle no one will ever turn off. Instinct checks inventory. Wiggle toes. Yes. Flex fingers. Yes. Turn neck. Limited, but possible. Pain radiates from everywhere yet settles on nowhere. Airbag. Deflates against my chest, exhaling stale chemical breath. I fumble for my phone, find it vanished, ejected God knows where. Outside the crumpled window, a single headlight glows in the wet grass, aimed at the stars. For the first time all night, numbers evaporate. Surge rates, net totals, emergency fund projections, gone. Only one equation matters now. Am I alive? The answer arrives in flashes of throbbing pain and ragged breath. Yes, but barely, and maybe not for long if I stay here. I fumble at the seatbelt latch. It's jammed. Panic prickles. My chest tightens, lungs scraping for air thick with plastic dust. I slam the release button again. It clicks. The belt snaps away. I push against the door, which gives a reluctant groan and yields a hand's breadth. Wind slaps my face with rain cold enough to sting. I pry harder, muscles trembling, and the door grudgingly opens halfway, enough to spill me onto the slick road. My knees collapse. Gravel bites through my trousers. I crawl to the shoulder, wincing at pain that blooms brighter with movement. Blue-white lightning splits the sky, and for an instant the scene sharpens. My hatchback twisted, passenger door crumpled like foil, steam swirling from a burst radiator. Across the lane, the other vehicle, the delivery van, lists against a guardrail, hazard lights blinking an erratic metronome. A figure stumbles from the driver's side, hand pressed to his forehead. He shouts, but thunder swallows his words. My vision tunnels. The highway, the wreckage, the stranger waving, everything grows distant, as though I'm viewing it through the wrong end of binoculars. I lie on my side, cheek against wet asphalt, breath fogging in the storm. Raindrops drum my skin, each beat whispering the same stark truth. I could have died tonight, and no balance sheet would have mattered. Red and blue strobes bloom on the horizon, sirens finally puncturing the rain. Relief seeps in, warm and heavy. I close my eyes, not from choice but necessity, surrendering to the dark behind the lids. My last thought before consciousness slips is neither of money nor of safety, but of the little girl in the park laughing beneath budding leaves. The echo of her joy ripples across the void, brighter than any ledger, louder than the rain. And then there is only black. Chapter 5. Awakening in White. I wake into brightness so fierce it feels like a second lightning strike. Overhead, panels of fluorescent light hum with surgical indifference, flooding every corner of a room painted in shades of sterile white. Walls, ceiling, curtains, sheets, even the plastic pitcher on the bedside table. My eyes sting. I try to lift a hand to shield them, but an IV line tugs at the skin inside my elbow and the motion fizzles into a twitch. For a long moment, I just breathe, cataloging what still works. Left hand, tingling but responsive. Right arm, heavy, swaddled, in gauze. Legs, dull throbs of protest, yet undeniably there. My ribs ache whenever the air ventures too deep, and a pressure band circles my skull like an iron crown. But pain, I decide, is evidence, proof that I'm alive, that the crash wasn't the final entry on my ledger. A soft chirp rises and falls to my left, a heart rate monitor tracing neon green peaks across a black screen. 90 beats per minute. A brisk march compared to the slow metronome I once prided myself on during morning push-ups. Each spike sinks with a fresh pulse of soreness through my ribs, yet I find the sound oddly comforting. Machines are keeping score now. I am merely a participant. Footsteps approach, rubber soles whispering over polished vinyl. A woman in powder blue scrubs parts the curtain. She's maybe 30, hair tucked into a floral cap, eyes alert behind rimless glasses. "Good morning." "Well, good afternoon," she corrects after a glance at the wall clock. "I'm Nurse Elena Dela Cruz. You're at St. Vincent's Medical Trauma Ward. Do you remember your name?" "My name is Ethan," I say. My voice emerges raw, like gravel poured over tin. "Ethan Wells." She smiles, quick and professional. "Excellent. Memory's intact. Can you tell me where you are?" "Hospital," I rasp. "After the accident." Her nod is gentle approval. "You've been here since 2 a.m. Paramedics brought you in after a collision on Ridgeview Highway. Seatbelt and airbags saved you, but you have bruised ribs, a mild concussion, and plenty of stitches. No internal bleeding, no broken bones." She checks my IV bag, scribbles on a chart. "Pain from 1 to 10? 7, I say automatically. The data analyst in me translating sensation into metrics. "I'll relay that to Dr. Alvarez," she assures, then lifts a plastic cup with a bendy straw. "Water?" I sip. The liquid is lukewarm hospital tap, yet it floods my mouth like spring water on a desert tongue. I drain half the cup before breath fails and the ribs protest. I sink back, exhausted by the simple act of drinking, when Nurse Elena leaves. Silence settles. A hush broken only by the ventilators down the hall and the distant click of a medication cart. In that hush, I finally see the rest of the room. A second bed, unoccupied. A window showing a gray sky rinsed clean by last night's storm. A pair of scuffed sneakers beneath the visitor's chair that are, unmistakably, mine. They rest atop a clear evidence bag holding my cracked phone, my wallet, and 3 crumpled fuel receipts. Small relics of a life lived on the run from insufficiency. A knock. Then Dr. Alvarez strides in. A tall man with salt and pepper hair, and the brisk gait of perpetual motion. He scrolls through a tablet, then meets my eyes. "Mr. Wells, it's good to see you awake. CT scan shows no bleeding. MRI confirms the concussion is mild. Your vitals are stubbornly strong." He taps the tablet's edge. If all stays stable, we'll move you to observation and maybe discharge in 48 hours. 48 hours. 2 full days without spreadsheets, fare counts, or budget apps. My first thought is whether my accounts can absorb the lost income. My second is how absurd that thought is when I've just survived a crash that bent steel. Like origami, Dr. Alvarez notices the flicker behind my eyes. Questions? How? I swallow. Was anyone else hurt? The delivery driver had a superficial head wound. He's already discharged. Relief spreads through me like anesthetic. Warmth. I nod. We exchange a few more facts. Pain management, physical therapy referrals, concussion protocols. Then he's gone, pulled onward by bleeps from another room. Left alone again, I test the remote to elevate the bed. The mechanism whirs. The world tilts until I'm half sitting, gaze level with the window. Clouds drift, revealing a pale quadrant of afternoon sun. Light pools across the sheet, glaringly white against my bruised knuckles. I remember the storm's darkness, the moment of impact, and the taste of airborne coins rattling in the cup holder. In that darkness, money meant nothing. The only currency was time. The door opens to Mia's voice. Ethan? She steps in, raincoat damp, eyes rimmed red. A moment later, she's at my bedside, gripping the rail. You idiot, she whispers, which is sibling code for I was terrified. She doesn't mention that I ignored her call. She just squeezes my hand until her own fingers shake. I muster a crooked grin. You should see the car. She snorts, half cry, half laugh. You should see you. Black eye, stitches, IVs. You look like a bargain bin mummy. I feel the smile fade as quickly as it came. I'm sorry I missed dinner. Her gaze softens. Forget dinner. She sits, rummages in her tote, pulls out a thermos. I brought miso soup. If the nurse says it's okay, maybe later. The thermos steams faintly, fragrant with ginger and seaweed. I remember declining that very meal a day ago because the drive would waste fuel. Somehow that calculus seems obscene under hospital fluorescence. Mia sees the shift in my eyes and leans closer. Ethan, you've got to slow down. We love you. We need you whole, not financially bulletproof. The monitor chirps faster. 60 hours ago, I would have countered with compound interest charts. Now words fail. I nod, because nodding costs nothing and means everything in this moment. After Mia leaves to let the nurse do vitals, the room settles again into hush. I attempt to shift, and the screen spikes. pain jagging up both sides of my rib cage. I freeze until the green line calms. My breath is shallow, but my thoughts race. What have I built? $51,000 sits in an account no one can cuddle, no one can spoon soup into. The figure once felt monumental. Now it feels weightless. A number disconnected from the throb in my temples and the warmth of my sister's hand. Outside the window, a custodian empties a trash bin, plastic liner flapping like a sail. Life, ordinary and relentless, continues. A floor below, coffee carts rattling, orderlies swapping bedpans, visitors hunting vending machines. No one down there knows how many hours I worked last week. They wouldn't care if they did. The ledger that defined me has no authority in this. Whitewashed kingdom of second chances. A knock. Nurse Elena returns with a portable dynamometer. Need to check your grip strength, Mr. Wells. She slips a gauge into my right hand. Squeeze when I say go. I squeeze, tendons trembling, pointer needle jittering to 40 pounds. She smiles. Good. Left hand next? I oblige. Another smile. Excellent baseline. You'll heal well, but listen. Healing isn't just numbers. Plenty of patients leave here with perfect stats yet return broken inside because they skipped. The slow part, rest. Rest. The word feels alien, a foreign currency I've never bothered to exchange. But I nod again. Nodding comes easier now. She finishes and flips my blanket like a sail at half-mast. Try to sleep, she advises. Pain meds will kick in. Then she dims the light and leaves me alone with the hiss of the oxygen vent. The ceiling tiles dissolve into haze as medication softens the world's edges. Just before sleep drags me under, a thought threads through the white. When the bill for this stay arrives, my savings will shrink. Yet the price will be cheap compared to the cost of never waking at all. I surrender to the drug-drowsed dark, pulse syncing with the monitor's lullaby. Around me, the hospital breathes in antiseptic rhythms, and in that breath I finally detect something long absent from my own. Permission, not to earn or budget or prepare, but simply to exist. Chapter 6. Questions without answers. Sometime after midnight, the hallway quiets to a low mechanical sigh, but sleep refuses to settle. Painkillers slip a film over the world, thick enough to dull the ribs, yet too thin to muffle the throb of thought. I lie flat, staring at ceiling tiles whose seams assemble into arrows, each one pointing nowhere in particular. The room is dim except for the monitors, green peaks of heartbeat, amber digits of blood pressure, a slow pulse of blue from the infusion. Pump. Every color blinks its tidy certainty, while my own certainties crack like thin ice beneath a skate. I have questions, hundreds of them, but no one left awake to answer. They spool across my mind in uneven lines. What was the last song I truly listened to without checking the time? Why did I stop painting watercolors after college? Would Mom recognize the man I became, or only the boy I was? How long can a life be postponed before it is forfeited altogether? The vitals monitor chirps. 92, 94, 93, like a metronome daring me to count regrets instead of heartbeats. I shift on the mattress. A bolt of pain fires beneath my sternum. The spike tamps down the swirl of thought long enough for me to breathe, slow and shallow, until the digits settle again. Paperwork at dawn. Gray light bleeds into the room around 5:30. Nurse Elena returns with a clipboard of forms and a paper cup clinking with pills. Morning, she whispers, voice softer than the blind she raises. Dr. Alvarez needs these completed for insurance and discharge planning. Insurance. Another ledger, another code. My fingers hesitate over the pen. Occupation? Data analyst Rondar rideshare operator sounds factual, but suddenly foreign. Emergency contact? Mia Wells. I pause at primary goal of post-hospital recovery. The line is blank. The nurse notices my stall and tilts her head. You can fill that later, she offers. Some patients write return to work, but that's not mandatory. Return to work. 3 words that once stood as my entire horizon. Now they feel like a cul-de-sac with no view. I nod, leave the space empty, and sign the bottom. The black ink looks thin, almost fragile, against government-grade paper. The visitor in curtain B. By mid-morning, the empty bed beside me gains a tenant. Mr. Calvin Delgado, 68, admitted for chest pains that turned out to be a stress reaction rather than a heart attack. A curtain separates us, yet his voice carries, resonant, edged with humor. Young man, he calls once he learns my name through the nurse. How's the head? You gave the ward quite a show last night. Came in on the gurney quoting your bank balance like scripture. Heat floods my cheeks. Did I really? Verbatim. He chuckles, coughing softly. Kept saying you couldn't die before compound interest matured. That's dedication. I manage a self-deprecating laugh, then ask how long he's been saving. Long enough, he says, rustling his blanket. Long enough to realize the pile never feels high. I missed my 50th wedding anniversary dinner because I had just one more contract to finish. Ended up toasting the waitress at a highway diner. Silence stretches. Two strangers, one curtain, the same confession. A life mortgaged to tomorrow. Regret it? I ask. What do you think? He answers. And the unspoken yes hangs between us like a low light bulb. The social worker audit. After lunch, a hospital social worker arrives, tablet in hand, sensible shoes squeaking. She reviews my chart, then clicks her stylus. Mr. Wells, I see you have health coverage and adequate savings. That's excellent. Still, we offer counseling for post-trauma adjustment. Accidents can leave emotional residue. Emotional residue. A phrase as antiseptic as the soap dispensers. She asks if I feel anxious. I think of headlights bursting through rain, the sound of metal folding, the moment money lost all meaning. My throat tightens. Yes, I say. She nods, tapping boxes on her screen. Sleep disturbances? Nightly. Any thoughts of what if? I almost laugh. My entire mind is a spreadsheet of what if. What if I'd answered my sister's call? What if the tires hadn't been bald? What if I'd taken the safer route with lower surge pay? I tell her I am evaluating priorities. She offers a brochure, redefining purpose after trauma, and schedules a therapist visit for tomorrow. When she leaves, the brochure sits like a sealed envelope on my tray table, heavier than it should be. Lists that lead nowhere. The afternoon drags, the kind of lingering time I once considered a liability. With no spreadsheets to reconcile, I borrow a pen and legal pad from the nurse's station. On the first page, I title a column, Reasons I Need More Money. On the second, Reasons to Spend It. Under Need More Money, I list emergencies, retirement, future family, a question mark I immediately underline twice. Under Spend It, I try to list joys, see the ocean, take Mia to dinner, buy new tires, learn to scuba dive. Each item feels mild compared with the terror's catastrophe whispers, yet the column grows faster than the first. I notice for the first time in years that potential joy can outpace hypothetical calamity. I draw a third column, questions. If money can't stop a truck in rain, what can it stop? How much safety is illusion? Who am I when I'm not earning? What memories will exist if I never make them? What would 50-year-old me thank me for? Another $1,000 or a single sunrise over water? I keep writing until ink splotches at the corner of the page, but answers refuse to follow. The monitor beeps. The ivy drips, the page waits. Evening shadows. Dusk filters through blinds, painting the wall in stripes of soft orange and deep blue. Mr. Delgado's grown children visit, filling the space with laughter that brushes through my curtain like warm air. They bring him a small radio, and soon a jazz trumpet soars quietly between our beds, brassy, alive, improvisational. I realize I've never listened to jazz outside an elevator. The freedom of its notes unnerves me, yet some forgotten part of my chest stirs. My toes tap beneath the sheet. Mia arrives later, her own dinner untouched in a Tupperware container. Instead of scolding me about rest, she sits without words, scrolling through travel photos on her phone. She pauses at a beach sunset, tilts the screen toward me. "Someday we should go," she says. "Not you should go. We." I nod, but the nod is different now, less automatic. I feel its weight, a promise I can neither quantify nor postpone. Night, the inverted ledger. When Mia leaves, the nurses dim the hall lights. Mr. Delgado is snoring, trumpet silenced. I reach for the legal pad again and flip to a blank page. Above the margin, I write ledger, inverted. Column A, hours of life already spent earning, countless. Column B, hours of life spent living, unclear. Column C, balance owed to myself, undeterminable. A soft laugh escapes my cracked lips. The eep-eyed analyst in me finally admits defeat. Some ledgers accept no numbers, only choices. The morphine timer chirps for another dose. Nurse Elena injects the medication, her voice far away as she reminds me to press the call button if nausea hits. I thank her, eyes heavy. Before the drug drags me under, I whisper into the dim room, as if the blank ceiling, or perhaps the universe, might reply, "What do I do now?" No voice answers. Only the steady hiss of the air vent and the rhythmic chirp of the monitor accompany me into sleep. In that hush, I understand that unanswered questions aren't empty at all. They are reservoirs, waiting to be filled not with data, but with living. And for the first time since I learned the magic of compound interest, I feel the faintest curiosity rather than dread about what the answers may someday be. Chapter 7. A Promise Made. The second night after the crash ends, not with the shrill pulse of the heart monitor alarm, but with the plainest sound on earth. Rainwater trickling down a metal gutter just outside the window. I lie in the half-dark, listening, and realize that for once the noise does not feel like a countdown. It feels like a lullaby. At 5:04 a.m., Nurse Elena appears for vital signs, her badge bookmarked by a tiny enamel sunflower. She finds me awake, eyes open, head turned toward the streaked glass. "Morning, Mr. Wells," she whispers. "Morning," I answer, voice surprisingly steady. She inflates the blood pressure cuff, counts my pulse, and scribbles numbers on her chart. Before she leaves, I ask a question I never thought would leave my mouth. "Do you know if there's a chapel in the building?" Her brows lift, not in judgment, only in curiosity. "First floor, west wing, very small, very quiet." "Could someone wheel me there later? I'd like 5 minutes alone." "I'll arrange it after breakfast." The mother's voice. Mia arrives before 8. She sets a to-go cup of black coffee on my tray. Real coffee, not the hospital blend. And the smell swirls through the room, bold and nostalgic. She also brings a second-hand portable cassette player. "Remember this?" she says, placing the clunky device on the blanket. I blink. "Is that Dad's old recorder?" "Yep. I found a tape inside marked Mom, 98. She inserts the cassette, presses play, and a hiss of static fills the space, followed by a voice I have not heard in 15 years. "Okay, kiddos, homework first. No excuses. Ethan, stop." Doodling rockets on the math sheet. My chest caves in. The ribs protest, but the pain barely registers against the swell of memory. Tears sting behind my eyes, stubborn and hot. Mia squeezes my hand. We let the tape run its course. Mom singing half a lullaby, laughing after she forgets the words, promising pancakes on Saturday. When the tape clicks off, silence thrums like a held breath. Mia wipes her cheeks. "She wanted us happy, you." "No, not fortified." I nod, throat too tight for words. First steps of a new equation. Physical therapy begins at 9. A therapist named Jonah wheels in a walker and invites me to stand. The floor tilts, my knees quiver, but I take 3. Shuffling steps before collapsing back onto the mattress. Sweat beads on my forehead, heart hammering. "You'll get farther tomorrow," Jonah promises, jotting notes. Tomorrow. For once, the word doesn't conjure market fluctuations. It conjures distance, literal and metaphorical, that I intend to travel. The little white room. Late morning, Nurse Elena keeps her promise. She guides the bed into a stubby elevator, then down a marble corridor to the chapel. A white room barely larger than my loft, with a narrow stained glass window pouring a ribbon of amber light across the floor. No pulpit, no pews, only a single, padded chair, a small shelf of scriptures, and a blank journal with a pen attached by twine. "I'll wait outside," she says, closing the door behind her. I maneuver from bed to chair, IV pole trailing like a sentinel. My legs wobble, but I remain upright. The stillness is cathedral deep. Even the machines in the hall fall away behind the thick door. I stare at the journal. Its blue cover is embossed with the words, "Take heart." Inside, page after page of cramped handwriting, prayers, grief, gratitude, sprawls in every color of ink. My fingers thrum when I reach an empty sheet. I pick up the pen, April 17th. I almost traded everything for nothing. I almost let $1 become worth more than a sunrise. I almost believed fear was prudence. I will not almost anymore. I pause, the pen hovering. Sweat dots my temple. I force myself to continue. I promise, I will measure my life in moments, not in margins. I will spend at least 1 hour every day on something pointless and beautiful. I will take my sister to dinner once a month, even if we order the least expensive dish. I will drive on new tires. Safety includes me. I will see the ocean before my stitches come out. I will forgive myself for the years I spent hiding behind numbers. Signed, with open eyes, Ethan Wells. My signature trembles across the page, but it is legible and irrevocable. I close the journal and lean back. For the first time since the accident, I feel a surge of exhilaration so intense it borders on fear. The blank ahead is vast, yes, but it is also mine. Discharge math. Dr. Alvarez visits after lunch and flips through charts. Liver enzymes good, blood pressure normalizing, concussion symptoms minimal. He taps the tablet. Will discharge tomorrow if tonight's vitals stay clean. I take a slow breath. Doctor, what's the typical recovery time before I can travel? He raises an eyebrow. You mean a vacation? Yes. 2 weeks of light activity, then gradual increase. Listen to your body. Start small. Small like a coastal town 3 hours by bus? He grins. That qualifies. Just no cliff diving. He leaves me discharge papers, instructions for wound care, a list of over-the-counter pain relievers, a referral to a trauma counselor. On the returning to work line, he writes, "When ready." The ambiguity thrills me. The call to dispatch. Evening. Paints the room lavender. Mr. Delgado dozes behind his curtain, jazz radio humming low. I unlock my battered phone, screen spider-webbed but functional, and thumb through the rideshare app. Unavailable still glows red beneath my profile picture. 37 consecutive hours offline, longer than any gap in 3 years. I press the deactivate driver account link. A pop-up asks, "Are you sure?" I imagine last night's highway, the skid, the lights, the emptiness. Then I imagine sunlight glinting off ocean waves I have never seen. Yes, I whisper. My finger taps confirm. A toast message appears. Account successfully deactivated. Relief, pure and light, floods my chest. Next, I call the staffing agency that handles my contract analytics work. A voicemail picks up. My voice shakes, but I say what needs saying. I'm alive, but I need a medical leave. I'll check email weekly, but I won't be available for overtime. I hang up. An aftershock of terror bolts down my spine, terror of lost income, but I breathe through it until the spasm passes. Fear is no longer my immediate supervisor. A market of intangibles. Mia returns with magazines and a pack of colored pens. We flip pages filled with travel spreads, cobblestone alleys, sapphire lagoons, night bazaars strung with lanterns. She circles. Anything that sparks even the faintest smile on my face. By the time visiting hours end, the glossy pages look like a kindergarten art project. Stars, hearts, smiley faces around cities and dishes and hiking trails. As she stands to leave, I grip her wrist. "Hold me to it," I say. "To what?" "The list in the chapel, especially number 3. Dinner once a month? And the ocean." Her grin widens. "You're paying." I laugh, chest aching but alive. The ledger reversed. Night settles. Jazz fades into classical piano, soft, deliberate keystrokes. I open my legal pad one last time and ink a new header. Ledgers that matter. Under it I list. Number of sunsets watched on purpose. Number of home-cooked meals shared. Number of places my shoes have gathered sand. Number of times I said I love you and meant it. Number of times I forgave myself. I write a bold 0 next to each entry, then draw an arrow pointing right, followed by blank space, room for growth. The page looks clean, hungry for data, but the data no longer intimidates me. Every 0 is a starting line, a promise sealed. Just before lights out, Nurse Elena checks vitals. I ask for a favor. Would you mind photographing something for me? I hold up the brochure the social worker gave me, Redefining Purpose After Trauma, and the journal page with my promise. She snaps a picture on my phone. Backup copy, I explain, so I can't pretend it never happened. She smiles. Accountability is the best prescription I can write. When she leaves, I scroll to the photo. The blue journal cover, my slanted handwriting, the promise gleaming beneath fluorescent glare. I set it as my lock screen wallpaper, my new dashboard metric. Outside, the rain has stopped. Streetlights carve pale pathways across the hospital lawn. For the first time in years, tomorrow is not a ledger to balance or an obstacle to conquer. Tomorrow is simply the next sunrise, and I have promised myself I will see it, really see it, if only from this bed. I close my eyes. The heart monitor drops to a drowsy 72 beats per minute. Each beat sounds like a footstep on wet sand, leading toward the unknown coast I've vowed to visit. Somewhere distant, waves might already be gathering, rehearsing their applause for the moment I arrive. I breathe in, I breathe out, and with pulse, breath, and promise aligned, I finally sleep without counting. Chapter 8. First Steps to Freedom. Morning spills through the blinds in ribbons of pale gold, so bright it seems determined to prove a point. The world still turns, and I am finally invited to rejoin it. A knock follows, 3 light taps, and Nurse Elena enters, pushing a cart with a breakfast tray and a neatly folded pile of discharge papers. "Big day," she says, voice breakfast warm. She checks my vitals for the last time, and the monitor murmurs a calm 70. "Dr. Alvarez will sign you out once you've eaten." I sit higher, soreness flaring but manageable. On the tray, scrambled eggs, wheat toast, a scoop of fruit, and, because she remembers, real coffee in a ceramic mug. Steam coils upward, carrying hints of vanilla from a packet of sweetener she must have snuck in. I cut a small bite of egg and hold it on my tongue. It tastes like possibility. Simple, hot, unhurried. The toast crunches, the fruit is shockingly sweet, and the coffee is better than any surge hour latte I ever gulped between rides. I finish every crumb. When Elena returns for the tray, she smiles at the empty plate. "Fuel for the road," she says, handing me a pen. I sign the insurance forms, the fall risk waiver, the concussion protocol checklist. Each signature feels less like bureaucracy and more like carving my name into a cliff face that overlooks a new sea. Dressing for departure. Mia arrives carrying clothes that don't smell like bleach, soft jeans, a slate gray t-shirt, and a hoodie the color of fresh mint. She helps me stand. My legs wobble, but the walker steadies me. And Jonah, the physical therapist, appears like clockwork to supervise the hike from bed to bathroom. "You're aiming for the nurse's station today," he challenges, half teasing. The distance is maybe 40 steps, but it looks like a mile of polished floor. I grip the rails, toes tingling, and set out. Each step sends a mild echo through bruised ribs. Each echo is proof that pain is temporary, movement permanent. Halfway down the corridor, a volunteer wheels a library cart past us. I catch a glimpse of titles: travel memoirs, atlases, phrase books. My breath hitches, tiny, eager, and I realize the cart is following me in metaphor, if not in fact. I keep walking, touch the far wall, then crawl my way back. Jonah high-fives me when I reach the room. "First kilometer of the rest of your life," he says. It may have been 40 steps, but I let the hyperbole stand, signing out. Dr. Alvarez arrives just before noon, stethoscope swinging like punctuation. He shines a light in my eyes, wraps my knees, reviews the chart one last time. Concussion symptoms minimal, vitals stable, stitches clean. He tucks the chart under his arm. "Any question before we send you into the wild?" I think of the promise list number 5. See the ocean before the stitches come out. "How soon can I travel 3 hours by bus?" He grins. "Today, if you sit near the aisle, hydrate and stretch every half hour." Mia punches the air in silent cheer. Dr. Alvarez tears a pink duplicate off the discharge pad, hands it to her, and leaves us to pack. Handshakes and homestretch hallways. I change clothes, the fabric shocking in its softness after 2 days in a back-button gown. Elena brings a wheelchair for protocol, but I insist on walking behind it instead. She humors me, steering while I shove along the IV pole like a makeshift trekking staff. We pass Mr. Delgado's bed. He is napping, radio off, but I place a sticky note on his nightstand. "Thank you for the warning bells. I'm listening now. E." Then the hallway widens into the public lobby. Vending machines, floral bouquets, revolving doors spinning slow as planets. Nurse Elena stops at the threshold. "We kill the IV here," she says, sliding out the needle with practiced gentleness. She applies a bandage printed with tiny sailboats, because of course she does, and steps back. "Wind at your back, Mr. Wells?" "For the first time, yes," I answer. We shake hands. Her grip is strong, steady, like pressing save on the whole experience. Air that doesn't smell like disinfectant. The automatic doors hiss. Outside, the city greets me with damp asphalt and late spring air that smells of wet concrete, lilac, bushes, and something like cinnamon from a food truck across the street. I breathe so deeply my ribs protest, but I keep drawing air until dizziness edges my vision. Oxygen, not numbers, is my new currency. A taxi idles at the curb. Mia loads my small overnight bag into the trunk. When the driver asks home, I glance at my sister, then at the sky, pale blue with high clouds drifting east, the same direction as the coast. Union Station first, I say. I need a ticket. The driver nods, merges into traffic. Seatbelt clicks. Asphalt hums under. Tires. With every block, the hospital shrinks in the rearview mirror until it's lost among towers and cranes. I touch the bandage on my arm, feel the sailboats, and imagine them catching wind. A room that is no longer home. We stop briefly at my loft. Inside, dust motes float like muted fireworks in slanted daylight. I used to find comfort in the austerity. Now the walls feel cramped, the air stale. I move slowly, collecting what matters. A worn journal, a change of underwear, a half-charged phone cable, Mom's cassette tape. I leave the ledger notebooks where they lie. The fortress can wait. I lock the door behind us and do not feel fear. The lock snicks shut like a period at the end of a chapter already told. Union Station. The hall of Union Station soars overhead, arches of wrought iron and glass echoing footfalls and announcements. Travelers drag wheeled suitcases. Teenagers strum guitars. The scent of pretzels twists through the air. I marvel that this place has existed my entire life. An island of departures I never stepped onto until today. At the ticket counter, I ask for next bus to Clearwater Beach. The clerk prints a ticket. Departure 1520, seat 12A, aisle, doctor's orders. Cost $26. I pay cash. The bills feel warm from my fist, as though reluctant to leave after so many years of captivity. I let them go, with 90 minutes till boarding. Mia and I sit on a wooden bench polished smooth by thousands of waiting souls. She unwraps granola bars, and we eat in amicable silence, watching people hurry nowhere and everywhere at once. An arrival board flips letters with satisfying clacks. Phoenix arrived, Chicago delayed, Clearwater on time. You sure you want to do this alone? She asks, voice gentle but edged with protective worry. Promise list, I remind her, tapping my lock screen. Number 5 needs solitude. She nods, wipes a rogue tear, then laughs. You're really doing it. Doing something, I correct. The right thing? I have no idea. Doing anything is a start, she answers, squeezing my hand. Boarding. When? Gate 14 opens. I rise slowly. My body feels like borrowed equipment, functional but unfamiliar. I hug Mia, a deep, full-ribbed squeeze that would have terrified me 2 days ago. She whispers, "Text me every hour," then slips the hoodie hood over my head and pats my shoulder. I walk the jet bridge-style ramp to the bus and settle into seat 12A. Fabric scratchy, window large enough to frame a whole new life. People file past, parents corralling children, a couple arguing about snacks, a backpacker humming. Ordinary lives intersecting mine for a brief shared trajectory. I smile, seatbelt clicks, engine rumbles, leaving the city. The bus heaves onto the highway. The skyline recedes, its glass towers tapering to shimmering sticks. I used to see those towers as symbols of ambition. Now they look like monuments to a past I survived. My reflection in the window blends with the rooftops until both images fade into open countryside. Fields unroll in quilt squares, emerald, mustard, russet. Cows dotted like exclamation points. Farmhouses with mailboxes shaped like fish. Every mile marker pulses a small victory, evidence that motion, not money, defines distance. I stretch every half hour as instructed, pacing the narrow aisle when the seat aches. A little boy peers at my bandaged arm and asks if I fought a shark. I lean down, whisper, "First battle with a dragon." His eyes widen, he grins and salutes. I salute back. At mile 92, we pass a lake. Sunlight skips across the surface, like tossed coins. I recall all the quarters collected in my car's cup holder, the ones that sang during the crash. Most scattered onto wet grass, probably found by road crews at dawn. These glints on water look like they're brighter reincarnations, free at last. First glimpse of salt water. 3.5 hours later, the bus crests a hill, and there it is, the ocean, endless, silver blue, rimmed with white breakers like lace. My breath catches. A lifetime of screensavers and magazine spreads did not prepare me for this living horizon. The bus groans into Clearwater Depot. I step off onto sun-warmed pavement, knees trembling harder than during physical therapy, but from awe rather than weakness. Air here tastes different, briny, electric, lightly baked by sun. Gulls wheel overhead, shrieking laughter that sounds suspiciously like invitation. A temporary nest. I walked 2 blocks to a seaside hostel painted tangerine and turquoise. The receptionist, a sun-freckled woman named Jamie, shows me to a dorm room with 5 empty bunks and a single window facing west. Shoulder season, she says. You might have the place to yourself. Perfect. My voice shakes. She thinks it's jet lag. I let her. Sheets smell of detergent and salt air. I lie down, shoes still on, and let the mattress sway gently with the echo of distant waves. The room is quiet except for my heartbeat, which has slowed to a restful 60. Safety once meant a bank balance. Now it looks like this number on a wristwatch, a pulse easy enough to be ignored. Sunset. An hour before dusk, I follow a sandy path through sea grape bushes to the shoreline. Warm grains sift between my toes. Cool foam curls around ankles still. Purple-yellow from bruises. Across the welted sky, the sun lowers like a gold coin slipping below a countertop, leaving liquid fire in its wake. I stand knee-deep in water, jeans rolled, hoodie unzipped. Waves lap, seagulls cry, wind lifts hair, still smelling faintly of antiseptic. I close my eyes and replay the crash. Rain, horns, impact. I open them again to this soft riot of color and motion. Both scenes are real. One is past, the other present. I choose the second. When the sun finally kisses the horizon, I whisper aloud, Number 5, complete. It feels like finishing, an exam and realizing the test was about living, not calculating. Night's first star. Back at the hostel, I sit on the balcony with a cup of watery cocoa from a vending machine that cheerfully overcharges by 50 cents. I pay without flinching. The sky transitions from apricot to indigo. The first star appears, modest and singular. I remember Mom teaching us to wish on the first star. Recall how I stopped believing in wishes once I believed in spreadsheets. Tonight I believe in both. I pull the journal from my bag. Under the promise list, I add 2 entries. Walked 40 steps to the nurse's station. Felt like Everest, watched the sun drop into the Gulf of Mexico. No photograph can hold that sound of water hissing over sand. The page gleams under porch light, ink still wet. I close the book, hold it to my chest. Somewhere behind the hostel, reggae music drifts from a bar. Someone laughs, glassware clinks, life pulses, messy and bright. I sip the cocoa, too sweet, a bit burnt, yet perfect because it is present, not postponed. Far off, waves keep time. Tomorrow I might rent a bicycle, or write postcards, or nap. beneath a palm. The plan is to have no plan sturdy enough to resist a detour. Above, the star field multiplies. I lean back, arms resting on the balcony rail, and let the night scroll overhead. Each star is a point of data, but tonight I do not chart them. I simply watch. The ledger is asleep in a dusty loft miles away. The fortress is unlocked, and here, in the hush between waves and sky, I take my first easy breath in years. Free, not because danger is gone, but because I finally believe life is worth the risk it asks in return. I finish the cocoa, smile at the empty mug, and whisper goodnight to the ocean. Then I step inside, leaving the balcony door ajar so I can fall, asleep to the tide's slow applause. My new metric for success, counted not in dollars, but in heartbeats well spent. Chapter 9. Beyond the Front Door. At first light, I wake to the hush-slosh of waves against the pilings below the hostel balcony. For a fleeting second, I expect heart rate alarms, disinfectant, Nurse Elena's sunflower badge, but the only scent is salt and distant coffee. Gray dawn ripples through the shutters in stripes, and I remember where I am. Clearwater, day 2 of breathing outside the ledger. Opening the door. Barefoot, I cross the wooden floorboards, each plank warm where yesterday's sun lingered. The dorm's other bunks are still empty. Shoulder season solitude holds. I twist the knob and push. The front door sighs outward as if the whole building is exhaling with me. Humid air rushes in. Brine, hibiscus, and the faint mineral tang of half-dry seaweed. I step over the threshold and feel the sand-dusted porch under my feet. Beyond the door, the alley stretches toward a glow of early sky, every surface blushed, rose gold. The bicycle gamble. The hostel rents rust-red cruiser bikes for $5 a day. $5 used to be an indulgence. Now it's a handshake with possibility. I sign the clipboard, hand over a bill, and unlock a bike whose white wall tires squish softly on sand. My ribs ache when I swing a leg over, but ache is no longer a stop sign. It's a yield, a reminder to go gently. Pedaling east, I pass pastel cottages trimmed with seashells, mailboxes painted like parrots, yard cats lounging on porch rails. Each stroke is a small revelation. Bruised muscles cooperate, lungs expand, and the rhythm of gears clicking mimics a steady inhale. Exhale I hadn't noticed my life lacking until now. A market without deadlines. The Saturday pier market unfurls ahead like a carnival quilt. Vendors set out jewelry made of beach glass, baskets of mangoes, incense that smokes in lazy blue spirals. I roll the bike beside a palm and wander through stalls at half speed, tasting samples offered on toothpicks, coconut fudge, smoked grouper, slices of star fruit so sweet they sting. At a booth of second-hand books, a weather-creased woman in a floppy sun hat waves me over. "First picks free for new faces," she says. I thumb through matted paperbacks until one falls open in my hands. A dog-eared travel diary titled "Wander Far, Spend Little." Coincidence taps me on the shoulder. "How much for the second pick?" I ask. "Pay what feels right," she winks. I place a $10 bill in her tin, not because it's cheap or expensive, but because the gesture feels proportionate to the smile she gives in return. Coffee with strangers. A food truck painted like a jungle cat hisses espresso steam into humid air. I join the line behind a surfer in a wetsuit peeling at the shoulders. He nods at my bandaged arm. "Shark bite?" he asks, grin wide. "Dragon," I answer. We both laugh, and the laugh feels loose, unscripted. I order an iced Americano sweetened with raw sugar. It costs $3 more than the hospital cafeteria brew, but the sound of beans grinding and the vibrato of Latin music from the truck speakers are baked into the price. I sit on the seawall, sipping foam through a cardboard straw, toes, brushing sand, and let minutes pass with no ledger measuring their worth. The phone call. Mid-morning sun climbs, sweat pearls at my hairline. I pull out my cracked phone and video call Mia. She answers from Dad's backyard, dapples of leaf shadow across her face. "Report, Voyager," she says. I swivel the camera toward the surf. "Proof of life," I reply. Dad's voice pipes up in the background, wanting tide reports, restaurant tips, verification that I packed sunscreen. I promise postcards and, on impulse, invite them both to visit in 2 weeks. The idea surprises me even as I speak it, but the words feel right, like a door swung open onto fresh air. An unplanned detour. Riding north, I spot a hand-painted sign. Sea Turtle Nesting Tour, 11 a.m. My watch reads 10:55. Old habits urge me to keep cycling, schedule, budget, plan. New habits, still forming, whisper detour. I lock the bike to a palm, jog down a boardwalk that smells of creosote and salt. A park ranger named Deshaun gathers 6 of us around a taped-off dune. He speaks softly to keep from scaring hatchlings due any night now. As he explains moonlight navigation and predator nets, I realize I've forgotten my ribs, my balance sheet, my chronically clenched jaw. I'm listening with the raw attention, once reserved for quarterly profit calls. Before we leave, Deshawn asks if anyone wants to volunteer for next week's Dawn Nest survey. My hand rises before my mind agrees. I'll be here, I say. It is the first obligation I've accepted that will pay entirely in experience. Learning the currency of noon. Back at the pier, sunlight turns sand into kiln. I duck into a shack offering conch chowder and shade. The ceiling fan clicks like a metronome set to lazy. A chalkboard menu lists prices I would have memorized and compared 6 ways last month. Today I choose by instinct. Bowl of chowder, side of fried, plantains, lime soda. I pay in cash and sit at a picnic table graffitied with initials. Cat Stevens croons from a radio. I eat slowly, honor every spice note, feel the crunch give way to tenderness. Halfway through, I set spoon down, simply to appreciate fullness, a sensation I used to sprint through on 15-minute lunch breaks. The beachcomber's epiphany afternoon heat drives me back to the shoreline. I walk the tide line, collecting shells, razor, cockle, tiny auger spirals, because they are beautiful, not because they resell on eBay. Kneeling to rinse sand from a lavender-striped scallop, I glimpse my reflection in the wet curve. Stubble, a healing bruise under my eye, a grin both surprised and shy. The man in the shell looks younger than 32. Joy erases years. Accounting, revised. Around 4, I park the bike by a gazebo and open the battered travel diary from the market. Inside the front cover, a faded inscription reads, "To whoever finds this, add pages, add miles, pass it on." Glue-bound maps unfold like secret wings. I flip to the back, find blank space, and start a tally. 21 bars error. Bike rental plus espresso plus chowder. Value of breathing salt air. Ranger's turtle lesson. Choice to detour. Net gain. Immeasurable. For the first time, I see an equation where the denominator is 0, rendering any division meaningless. The analyst in me accepts the math. Sometimes a ledger's greatest profit is undefined. Sunset 2. Dusk paints the gulf again, this time in bruised violets and molten peach. I sit on a driftwood log, phone muted, and let waves dictate the tempo. Nearby, 2 retired teachers strum ukuleles, harmonizing on a 1960s folk tune. People gather, form a half-circle choir. Nobody exchanges surnames or business cards, only verses and applause. I join on the final chorus, voice rusty but earnest. When the last chord fades, someone starts a slow clap that crescendos into laughter. The group disperses like dandelion, seeds in wind, and I realize community can be built in 10 minutes of song as surely as in 10 years of networking. Letter to Tomorrow. Returning to the hostel at night, I draft a postcard under the porch light's moth-swirl glow. Dad and Mia. Today, I rented a bike, tasted ocean and soup, promised sea turtle hatchlings I'd guard their first sunrise. Nothing here adds to savings, yet everything here adds to life. Can't wait to show you. Love, Ethan. I seal it with a stamp picturing a lighthouse. The same lighthouse whose beam sweeps the distant water outside my room. Closing the door without closing off. Inside the dorm, I set shelves on the windowsill, prop the travel diary, open to the blank map of places yet to visit. I shower off salt, then climb into the bunk. The wooden frame creaks, settling like a ship's hull, rocking me toward sleep. Out on the balcony, the hostel's front door swings gently in the night. Breeze. Open, then almost closed, then open again. Breathing. I decide to let it stay unlatched. A closed door once meant safety. Tonight an open one means freedom. Above the distant hush of waves, a lone gull cries, winging somewhere unseen. I listen until the sound fades, and in the hush that follows, I hear my own heartbeat steady as surf, measuring not wealth but waking hours well lived. Chapter 10. The Journey Begins. Anew. I wake before dawn to the hush of ceiling fans and the faint rattle of palm fronds outside the dorm window. On the nightstand, the glow of my watch reads 4:47 a.m., exactly 13 minutes before the ranger asked volunteers to gather at the boardwalk. The room is dark except for a seam of moon silver beneath the door. Somewhere down the hall, a faucet squeaks and shuts. Someone else is greeting the day early, but this time I am not rising for an overtime shift or a surge fare chase. I am rising for sea turtle hatchlings that have never seen the sun. I dress quietly. Loose linen shirt, rolled cuff jeans still salty at the hems, running shoes with grains of sand in every eyelet, and step onto the balcony. Warm air brushes my skin like bathwater poured from the sky. Stars fade over the gulf, replaced by a paper-thin wash of indigo and rose along the horizon. I breathe once, long and unhurried, then take the stairs two at a time, ribs protesting, but manageable. Turtle Dawn. Deshawn waits at the ranger hut with 3 other volunteers and a canvas bucket of red-lensed flashlights. White light can confuse hatchlings, he explains, so red filters keep them oriented to moon and surf. We walk single file between rope fences, feet sinking into cool dune sand. The wind smells of salt and distant rain. I taste it on my lips and think there are flavors cities never learn. At the 3rd nest, Deshawn kneels. A cratered patch of sand trembles, then shifts. A beak the size of a thimble splits the crust, followed by a flurry of tiny flippers. We crouch in silence as a dozen loggerhead hatchlings spill into the world, charcoal silhouettes against a lavender sky. They pivot instinctively toward the tide's silver stripe. Deshawn's whisper is reverent. Their entire map is moonlight and magnetism. We follow behind, clearing driftwood, shooing gulls. When the first wave rushes forward, the hatchlings vanish in froth, and I feel something inside me dive with them. Some fear I have carried for years slipping beneath salt water and swimming free. Breakfast of beginners. By 7 the sun climbs, gilding the pure market that now feels familiar. I order black bean tacos from the same vendor I once avoided for price. He recognizes me, tosses an extra lime wedge onto the plate for the turtle guardian. The tortillas steam in my hands. I eat standing, watching surfers ride waist-high, glassy waves. Each bite is bright with cilantro and possibility. I sit on the seawall and open the weather-creased travel diary. On a fresh page, I sketch a stick-figure turtle and beneath it write, Volunteer Hour 1, First Escort to the Sea. The ink blots slightly where salt spray dots the paper. I leave it. Imperfection is part of the record. A call with 2 goodbyes. Back. At the hostel common room, I borrow a quiet corner and dial the staffing agency. My supervisor's voice answers, brisk and caffeinated. I tell her I will not be returning to the analyst contract. A pause stretches long enough for me to hear office printers in the background. She starts to offer part-time remote options, but I thank her and decline. I'm trading spreadsheets for field notes, I say. Surprisingly, she laughs. Send a postcard if you reach Patagonia, she replies, and the line clicks dead. Next, I open the driver app dashboard on my cracked phone. A banner still invites me to reactivate. OnePress would drop me into surge pricing again. Instead, I scroll to the Final Settings tab and select Delete Account. A prompt warns that earnings history will disappear permanently. I tap Confirm and watch the icon dissolve. The relief is physical, like setting down a suitcase carried too many miles. Maps with blank edges. Mid-morning heat drives me indoors, where ceiling fans spin under reed-matted roofs. I spread a tourist map across a picnic table, but the printed routes feel restrictive. I fold it away and open the travel diary instead. The back pages are empty except for the original inscription. Add pages, add miles, pass it on. I fetch scissors and tape from the hostel desk, slice the tourist map into uneven strips, and tape them into the diary like mosaic tiles. Key roads gone, landmarks missing, space opening between fragments. It becomes a map of gaps, a landscape that invites invention. I mark Clearwater with a small star, then draw a winding dotted line that meanders north toward cedar forests, east toward Blue Ridge Mountains, south again toward mangrove islands, each bend labeled with questions rather than destinations. Who will I meet here? What flavor waits in this town? Which fear will I leave beside this river? Packing light, leaving lighter. Checkout is at noon. I return the rust-red bike, slip the clerk a tip equal to the rental fee, one bill marked with saltwater thumbprints. In the dorm, I fold clothes into the small duffel, add the travel diary, Mom's cassette, 3 shells, and a paperback novel from the free shelf titled Road Songs. I leave the ledger notebooks on my old bunk pillow with a note. For whoever still believes safety is measured only in dollars. Take what you need, then go outside and prove yourself wrong. The front desk clerk stamps my receipt. Safe travels, she says. The blessing once sounded ironic. Now it feels generous, as if safety can be redefined without numbers attached. Bus, then boot leather. The 1 p.m. bus rumbles along the shore road. Through the window, palms blur into green streaks. I text Mia a single sentence. Northbound, no timetable, love you. She replies with a selfie of her and Dad holding homemade Bon Voyage cupcakes. Frosting spells live. I save the photo to my home screen. At Fernwood Junction, I disembark on impulse. The town is little more than a diner, a feed store, and a boarded theater with a mural of cardinals in flight. The next bus north leaves tomorrow morning. Perfect. I shoulder the duffel, suddenly light, almost buoyant, and walk until pavement turns to packed sand and pine needles. A wooden sign points toward E. Longleaf Trail, 5 miles loop. I follow. Sunlight slants between towering trunks, and in the hush I hear pine warblers, my own breath, and the subtle percussion of acorns underfoot. I walk slowly, not timing strides, not counting calories burned. I stop to watch a line of ants bridge a gap between two roots with their bodies. I stop to drink water that tastes faintly of tin from my bottle and decide it is the best drink I have had all day. Halfway around the loop, a clearing opens onto a pond the color of tea. A weather-beaten dock juts 5 feet into still water. I sit, legs dangling, shoes off, soles cooling on the surface. Dragonflies stitch the air in electric blue zigzags. I pull the travel diary from the duffel and write, April 19th, Pond Mile, Fernwood Ledger of the Present. Balance, 1 breeze, 3 dragonflies, infinite quiet. Expense, 1 hour willingly unaccounted for. Net, immeasurable gain. I close the diary, lean back, and watch clouds drift like slow ships. For a moment, I picture the old loft with its dangling bulb and peeling walls. I bless it for sheltering the person I was, then let the image float away, lighter than cirrus vapor. Campfire algebra. Evening finds me at a state park campsite, rented for $7 cash. A neighboring hiker named Luca shares a portable stove, and a story about cycling from Quebec to Key West. We trade noodles for granola, silence for anecdotes. He asks why I travel. I think of complicated answers. Accident, awakening, a promise scribbled in a hospital chapel. But say only, to collect something other than money. He nods as if the arithmetic is obvious. Flames hiss low. Stars ignite. Overhead in numbers no economist will ever finish counting. I consider balancing them against the dollars left in my account, realize the absurdity, and laugh out loud. Luca raises an eyebrow. I wave it off. Inside joke with the universe. Night ledger. Before crawling into the rental sleeping bag, I flip to a blank diary page and write the first entry of a new ongoing audit. Things worth more than money collected. Today hatchling sprinting toward surf, a free paperback inviting footnotes. In the margins, cilantro bright taco laughter with a stranger in a wetsuit. The silence of a pine. Cathedral at noon. The ease of deleting an account that no longer defines me. Cupcakes spelling life in my sister's kitchen miles away. I cap the pen, tuck the diary under my head, and stare at constellations through mosquito netting. Somewhere, maybe tomorrow, a hospital invoice will land in my inbox. I will pay it. The savings cushion will dip, but the night sky reminds me that abundance is not a line in an app. It is this breathing, this starlight, this momentum into dark, unknown corners where new songs wait. The road opening. Just before sleep takes me, a final thought surfaces, bright as dawn on water. The journey does not start when we leave home. It starts the first time we decide home is larger than any roof. Beyond the netting, wind rustles long-leaf needles like distant applause. The journey applauds with them, and I let the sound carry me into dreaming, no longer measuring tomorrow by balances or fears, but by the widening map of questions that promise to lead everywhere. Great work today! Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.